Once you reach the Grand Hanuman statue, you should realize that you have reached one end of HSR layout. With wide roads, dedicated pedestrian walkways and a lot of beautiful parks, this place has evolved into a relaxing place. Over the last decade, HSR layout has become one of the most preferred residential locations in Bangalore urban. With colleges like National Institute of Fashion Technology and a lot of startups calling HSR layout their home, this place has risen from a solely residential area to a mix of commercial, residential and recreational zones. In this video, let's explore the different aspects of urban planning, analysis and design of HSR layout in detail. Introduction. Let's have a basic overview about HSR layout in this sheet. HSR layout. Let us first understand the full form of HSR. HSR stands for Hosur-Sajapur Road. This layout is located in between Hosur Road and Sajapur Road and hence named HSR layout. This area was developed by the Bangalore Development Authority in the 1985 for the civil servants. Due to its proximity to major areas like Koramangala, Sajapur and BTM layout, this area has emerged into the most desired residential locations for IT professionals in Bangalore. History of HSR layout. Study of the timeline in between 1700 to 1970s. Initially, Bangalore was in its development phase with marked boundaries. From the span of 1911 to 1924, extension of Hosur Road took place and also CBD was expanded with the formation of different settlements all around. In 1990s, development of Bangalore expanded from the central cantonment to the other areas. It was at this time that areas like HSR layout evolved. Site physicality. Climate. HSR layout, like any other part of Bangalore, experiences a moderate climate. Altitude. Longitude of 77.64 degrees and latitude of 12.91 degrees. Elevation of 895 meters. Temperature. Winters are as cold as 14 degrees Celsius and summers are as hot as 36 degrees Celsius. Annual rainfall received in this area is 970 mm. The soil type is red laterite soil and the groundwater level is 2.1 meter. Morphology. It can be noticed that open and green spaces have vastly reduced in the timeline of 2000 to 2021, while the residential spaces have increased. Commercial spaces have seen an increase in between 2013 to 2021. Ward Quality Score. According to the BBMP Ward Quality Score report of 2013, HSR layout has good amount of water supply and vegetation. Although it has minimal sanitation and mobility services, it is ranked within the top 5 ranks in terms of public amenities. Inference. It requires development in sanitation and mobility. From the overall analysis, it is clear that Sector 1 has the highest area with the highest population density and Sector 5 has the least area with lowest population density.
HSR Layout Sector 1. Introduction. Sector 1 is situated along Sajapur Main Road and Outer Ring Road. It has spread over an area of 5.17 square kilometer with total population of 51,760. It provides easy accessibility to IT hubs. Landmarks. Sector 1 has various city and neighborhood level landmarks, out of which Agra Lake and Lift College are prominent. Coming to site physicality, topography. Sector 1 has a gradual slope with ridge and valley at the Adio land and Agra Lake respectively. Green and blue infrastructure. The parks were the sole focus for the structures built around it. 30% of the area has floral and deciduous vegetation. North quadrant has less vegetation compared to the core. Morphology. In the year 2000, North quadrant near Agra Lake was irregularly planned with scattered housing, mud roads and green spaces in other quadrants. In 2010, Agra Lake started polluting due to an increase in urbanization, with quadrants having wider roads, more parks and empty spaces. In 2015, restoration of Agra Lake began with an increase in built-up space and a decrease in green space. In 2020, Agra Lake came back to its former glory as the area was well developed as one of the prominent sector in HSR layout. Next is physical infrastructure, road hierarchy and street character. Secondary street. It runs from north to south with two-way vehicular movement with side street parking. Heavy pedestrian movement due to commercial spaces. Tertiary street. It runs from east to west with moderate traffic due to commercial and residential buildings present on either sides. Neighborhood street. It's one-way vehicular movement with low traffic. It has residential buildings and parks. Traffic analysis. At 8 am, moderate and low traffic in secondary and tertiary roads respectively. At 12 pm, moderate and low traffic in secondary and tertiary roads but heavy traffic in primary roads. At 4 pm, moderate and heavy traffic due to peak time of IT hubs. 10 pm, low and moderate traffic. The roads were well connected using grid pattern to reduce traffic movement. Public transport. One bus depot and many bus stops in and around the sector. Buses are more frequent compared to auto stands, but people prefer to use their own private vehicles. Coming to social infrastructure, it is equally spread throughout the sector which is easy to access. These facilities do not satisfy standards, hence it is still developing. Next is demographics. Open versus built. Open space is 60% whereas built-up space is 40%. Figure ground analysis. North quadrant is coarse grain whereas the other quadrants are fine grain. It has more of open spaces with equal distribution of built-up spaces. Land use. Comparing 2015 and 2031 map, there is a gradual decrease in industrial and commercial spaces leads to increase in residential and green space. Building heights. Large amount of G and G+1 for residents, G+2 and G+3 for small commercial spaces, and G+4 and above for high-rise structures. This sector has varying building heights which gives unique skyline. Neighborhood survey. According to survey, Sector 1 is the best locality for residents, suitable for all age groups. The locality has good connectivity to major parks which provides all facilities and basic needs. Overall influence. This locality is one of the best localities for residents in Bangalore that satisfies all age groups. It has good connectivity to the nearby IT hubs and still has room for more development in social infrastructure.
Let's proceed to Sector 2. HSR layout Sector 2 is situated in the midst of Hosur-Sarjapur Road, which is a suburb of southeast region of Bangalore lying in the Bommanhalli constituency of State Assembly. It has emerged out as a posh locality of Bangalore with wide streets, parks and all types of modern civic facilities. This sector has an area of roughly 266 acres constituting a population of 25,070 people, among which the male population constitutes 13,346 and female being 11,721. The next subtopic is landmark. Landmarks add up to very important features of any locality. Neighborhood level landmarks include Independence Park, Bangalore Revival Centre and BTA Layout Park. City level landmarks include HSR Playground, Basaveshwara Temple, Anjanaya Temple and Great Learning Campus. Talking about site physicality, the land has a gentle slope with maximum height difference up to 3 meters. The highest contour level has playground and apartments, and the lower contour level has vertical main road. The only threat is during rainy season there is possibility of stagnant water on the roads, which can be solved by infiltration trenches. The next subtopic is vegetation. There is more number of vegetation seen on northwest and southwest region with playground, public and private parks. The light and dark green represents fewer and more vegetation respectively towards the main roads. Morphology of the sector. During the year 2000, fewer development with grounds and greenbelt area were present. Purva Fairmont apartment was constructed and population increased a bit during 2004. Commercial and regional buildings started evolving, which became the landmark. Presently, 2021, the sector is filled with residents and biodiversity can be included in future. Under physical infrastructure, the first subtopic is road hierarchy map. The sector has secondary, tertiary and neighborhood roads. Secondary roads are 25 meter wide and run between commercial and high-rise buildings. Tertiary roads are 13 meter wide and run between residential buildings and has more trees, while the neighborhood roads are 7 meter wide and run between low-rise buildings. Junction and public transport. Appropriate articulation should be provided in signals. More signals are required in junction. Segregation of pedestrian and vehicular movements is required in some roads. Also, public transport is easily accessible. The next subtopic is traffic volume analysis. Observation is done at every 3-hour interval. From morning 9 am to 12 noon, traffic is smooth in the main roads and dense in neighborhood roads. While from 12 pm to 3 pm, dense traffic is observed in crossroads. 3 pm to 6 pm, slow-moving traffic is observed in roads near schools, office buildings due to disperse of people. Around 6 pm to 9 pm, slow traffic is observed in crossroads and smooth traffic in neighborhood and main roads. Proceeding to the next layer, that is social infrastructure. Compared to all other quadrants, the southwest quadrant covers all types of social infrastructure such as parks, hospitals, schools, banks and petrol bunks. The inferences are, it has a limited entry points to parks which makes the space more private, and also public facilities such as drinking water, public toilets can be provided. Speaking about demographic layer, the subtopic is figure ground analysis. Fine grain texture is observed in most part, whereas coarse grain is seen in southern part, which are apartments. The next subtopic is open versus closed area. About 65% of the sector is closed and 35% is open area. There is a balance in northwest quadrant compared to all other quadrants in the sector. The next layer is land use map. About 60% of area is residential, while 15, 10 and 15% are parks, semi-public buildings and commercial buildings. When compared to 2021 land use map, all the commercial buildings are restricted to the peripheral road. Building volume map. As residential buildings are more in the sector, the maximum number of buildings are G+2 and minimum are G+4 and ground floor buildings. The next topic is neighborhood survey. The survey indicates that about 30% of the plot in HSR are yet to be developed. There is improvement required in road and pedestrian walkway and control in vehicular traffic. Development is required in vacant land and drainage network.
HSR Layout Sector 3 Introduction. The sector consists of block numbers 14, 15 and 16 of the Bengaluru constituency, planned in a well-grid manner, where roads run across the sectors horizontally and vertically. The area of the sector is 0.57 square kilometer, with a population density of 27,500 people per square kilometer, making it a moderately densely populated area. Landmarks. This sector consists of two city-level landmarks, which are the HSR Club and the Narayana Hospital. Site physicality. The contours of the site are present in the site physicality map. Contours. The contours observed here allows for higher footprint of buildings. Still, we can witness smaller footprints, which is majorly predominated by the residential units. The section shows a gentle slope along the sector, in which the highest point is 904 meters above the sea level. Vegetation. Different types of vegetation can be seen in this area as shown in the map. As role of trees is very important in maintaining pollution-free atmosphere, measures should be taken to plant more vegetation. Morphology. To understand the development over years, we have taken photos of the area over consecutive 5 years from 2000. As the development proceeded, we can increase of built-up spaces and designated green cover along the years. The lake which was present during the initial days has been occupied and has lost its trails over the years. Physical infrastructure. First, the road network analysis. The roads are classified as primary, secondary, tertiary and neighborhood based on the width of the roads and the amount of traffic it takes. Primary road can be seen as a road passing to the corner of the sector. Secondary roads connects the main roads and the tertiary. A lot of internal roads can be seen in the sector, which can be categorized under tertiary and neighborhood roads. Road sections. The section shown here cutting to the secondary roads concludes that there is enough space for the footpath, but less parking space often disturbs the pedestrian movement. Public transport analysis. Sector 3 doesn't have any bus stop inside the sector. The available bus stops are located just outside the sector boundaries. Traffic analysis. Light traffic is being experienced in the morning time, afternoon and night time experiences moderate amount of traffic. Demography. Land use. The present land use map 2015 shows that the area is majorly residential spaces with a few commercial spaces along the main roads so that to be easily accessible from the roads. The future proposed land use map 2031 shows the area is going to be completely residential within the existing parks maintained as it is. Built versus unbuilt. The sector is moderately built with buildings ranging from 3 to 5 floors. More G+2 buildings are situated near the parks and green spaces. The commercial buildings are seen along the perimeter of the structure. There are many empty plots which are yet to be built upon. Coming to figure ground analysis. The northwest quadrant has a coarse green urban texture with a main open space in form of park and regular network of roads. Northeast quadrant has fine green urban texture with a grid type of road network. Building heights. The building heights in this sector range from G+1 to G+6. The minimum height is 7 meters and the maximum goes up to 25 meters. Social infrastructure. Types of social infrastructure include healthcare, education, public facilities, and transportation. All of these structures serve as a backbone to the community and society. Sector 3 consists of a wide range of residential developments such as individual houses, apartments, and plots. First is the health infrastructure. This includes 3 prominent hospitals in this sector, which are well equipped and are available at walkable distance to the people residing here. Monetary infrastructure. This includes banks and ATMs, which are again available at regular intervals to the public. Educational infrastructure. This mostly includes of primary schools and private institutions. Shopping and amenities. This includes shopping complexes and grocery stores available to the people, and also consists of the Hsr Club for entertainment purpose, which is also an important landmark of this sector. Religious infrastructure. This sector comprises of 3 Hindu temples as shown in the map. Also consists of 3 green spaces, in one being the Twin Park, which is again a familiar landmark. Since Sector 3 is a smaller sector compared to other sectors of HSR, certain amenities are limited in number such as police station, post office, petrol bunks, bus stops, etc. Neighborhood survey. Firstly, Sector 3 consists of mixed development, and because of this, there is an unequal distribution of population which leads to different age groups and employment sectors. According to the research and data collected, pie charts have been prepared for different categories. According to the study, 72% of people own a four-wheeler and 28% people use a two-wheeler. So the inference is people residing in HSR Sector 3 probably belong to middle class. Age of building. According to the study, most of the buildings are aged between 10 to 15 years. Water supply. According to the study, people residing here depend on borewell for the everyday water supply. Height of the buildings. Most of the buildings in this sector are 3 to 4 floors high. Very few buildings are higher than 6 floors, which are mostly commercial. So this is all about HSR Sector 3. Thank you so much.
HSR Layout, Sector 5. Introduction. Location Map, HSR. Sector 5 is located in the northwest quadrant of HSR, west of Agara Lake. It constitutes an area of 227 acres. Landmark. Although the sector does not comprise of international level landmarks, it houses three major landmarks. One is city level, namely Agara Lake. Two are neighborhood level, namely Police Park and Police Ground. Regional landmark. The sector also houses numerous churches and temples, and some of them being very prominent in the sector, such as Vande Marga Church and Venkateshwara Temple. Site physicality. Topography. Since there is a lake located on the east side of Sector 5, we can notice a gradual decrease in the topography. The highest point is located on the northwest quadrant of Sector 5, which is 894 meters, and the lowest point is on the east side, which is 876 meters. Morphology. Sector 5 has seen a gradual increase in vegetation, population and road network, making it a balanced development. Vegetation and water body. Sector 5 consists of 30% vegetation, out of which most of it is located on the northwest quadrant of the sector. Although there is no water body located inside the sector, on the east side of the sector there is a huge lake of area 98 acres. Physical infrastructure, road hierarchy. Sector 5 is located between Outer Ring Road and Martahari Sajapur Road, which is on the southern and the northern side of Sector 5 respectively. The roads are easily accessible and within standard, which makes it a well-planned road network. Traffic analysis. Since Sector 5 is more of a residential area, it has less of commercial spaces, and the traffic here is usually monitored throughout the day, with very minimal amount of vehicular movement. Road section. Sector 5 has mostly low-rise residential buildings with maximum number of floors going up to G+3. The section above shows how the sector is well designed with pedestrian walkway on either side of the road. Street characteristics. They have cut a section along a 12-meter wide road which has residential building on one side and vegetation on the other. It also consists of street lights and footpaths. Utilities. Sector 5 consists of sufficient utilities and it has an overhead water tank above the police park. Public transport and services. Adequate number of bus stops are located only at the periphery, and hence some parts of the sector does not come under the 500-meter radius and might be inconvenient to access these bus stops. The upcoming metro station is located near Silkboard Junction, which is approximately 1 kilometer away from the sector. Topography 3D. Since the sector is residential space and it consists of low-rise buildings of either G+2 or G+3, the sector lacks high-rise buildings. Social infrastructure. Hierarchy of social infrastructure. Based on the hierarchy of social infrastructure located in Sector 5, we can come to a conclusion that this particular sector has adequate number of parks, bus stops, public transport, religious spaces, clinics, hospitals and ATM banks, at several locations within the sector, hence making it user-friendly. Demographic: open versus built. Most of the open spaces is located on the west side of Sector 5. The built-up percentage, the building footprint is about 65%, the open area, vegetation and open spaces is 35%. Figure ground analysis. The east side of Sector 5 has fine grain and the west has coarse grain. The fine grain indicates that the residential space is densely populated with very minimal amount of vegetation and limited open space between the buildings. The coarse grain shows there are more amount of open spaces between the buildings. Land use. As per the land use map of 2015, the sector comprises more of residential, public and semi-public areas as compared to commercial and industrial areas.
HSR Layout Sector 6. Introduction. Location map of HSR layout and its sector with designated area. Located next to Hsr Road, NH44 and Outer Ring Road with 51 km distance from International Airport. Inference. Easily accessible from all four sides of the sector. Facilitates all modes of transport to the sector. Landmarks. City level and neighborhood level. Four major city level landmarks with around 500 to 600 meter distance approximately. 8 neighborhood level landmarks based upon usage. Inference. Easily accessible at minimum distance. Well defined within the proximity of the sector. Site physicality, morphology as an area. Study upon the timeline from 2000 to 2021. Rapid decrease in green spaces and exponential growth in residential spaces due to the development of IT hub within the vicinity of Electronic City. Inference. Rapid changes of site features due to the development of space within the certain amount of time. Morphology. Layers of base map analysis. Irregular footprints of buildings. Presence of different types of vegetation. Primary nala is only water body in the sector and contains primary, secondary and tertiary roads. Inference. Overall sector is well defined and characterized in terms of vegetation, accessibility and different typology of building. Topography. Contours. Having minimal slopes compared to neighboring areas which are more elevated. Inference. Due to low-lying HSR area, it faces stormwater flooding as neighboring areas are much higher. Topography. Roads and slopes. Longest road is Hsr Road and it's one of the primary road along with the Outer Ring Road and two secondary roads, Hosapalya and 5th Cross Main Road. Inference. Peripheral area of site has all major roads. Vegetation. Types of trees. Sector 6 has more vegetation compared to other sector with a variety of species present, majorly 5 types. Inference. Even distribution of vegetation throughout with pockets of public parks in between the spaces. Morphology as an area. Skyline. Rapid growth of Bangalore has led to urban development with minimal presence of vegetation and open spaces. Major development of Sector 6 was around 1990s due to the bloom of IT hub in the vicinity. Inference. Spread of residential units and decrease of vegetation and open spaces. Physical infrastructure, road network and road hierarchy. Contains two major nodes and junctions.
Silkboard and Bomanhalli with less than 300-meter distance which can be accessed. Inference, well connectivity of nodes and junctions and all other neighboring sites. Road network, road sections. Mixed use of spaces and characters due to the growing population, creating diversity within the sector. Inference, requirement of defined pedestrian walkways and management of traffic and its movement. Street characters, mixed use of spaces with varying building typologies providing scope for interaction factor. Inference, spaces are well combined for multi-purpose usage and functions within the sector. Public transportation and services. Location of bus stops at regular intervals within a distance of 500 to 600 meter approximately. Inference, well-equipped bus facility within and around the vicinity of the sector. Need of auto and taxi stands around the sector. Social infrastructure, hierarchy of social infrastructure, availability of basic services such as pharmacy, hospital, school, temple, post office, etc. Presence of 4 major parks within the sector. Inference, well-equipped sector with all services within walkable distance and connectivity. Utilities, parks, bus stops, adequate number of bus stops and availability of public parks within the residences. Inference, well-defined public transport with ease of access and well-approached towards the public parks within the blocks. Utilities, street lights, less amount of street light and unequal distribution with minimal intensity and spreadness. Inference, unequal distribution of lights causing frequent accidents and loss of directions of spaces due to no presence of street lights. Utilities, footpaths, undefined footpaths with minimal width and no proper management. Inference, inconvenience faced by the spectators cause of improper crossways at primary roads and improper management. Demographic, open versus built, adequate amount of vegetation present all over the sector. Inference, need of well-defined combination of open and green spaces along with the residential units, and implementation of more vegetation to balance with the residential units. Land use, 2015, permanent residential spaces along with commercial spaces located next to Hsr Road. 2021, expansion of more amount of residential spaces with limited commercial spaces along the primary roads. Traffic time analysis. Weekdays, more amount of traffic can be observed. Weekends, traffic congestion is less. Inference, stagnant traffic makes the difficulty in movement and alternate routes causing for slow movement of traffic. Figure ground analysis. Larger footprints of commercial spaces with irregular arrangement of buildings and closely packed footprints of residential spaces. Inference, larger footprints and sparse arrangement should be more defined and balanced. Building heights, mixed arrangement of buildings with differing heights all over the sector, and mostly G+1 and G+2 is preferred for residential spaces. Inference, no categorization between commercial and residential spaces. Neighborhood analysis, residential. Age of buildings varies over time. Public vehicle use is less comparatively to private vehicle usage. Inference, due to mixed development, presence of unequal distribution of population leading to combination of different age groups. Archshala layout sector 6. Inference. This sector is well equipped with accessibility point of view. The mixed development creates a diversity within the sector. Combination of different spaces gives more opportunity for social interactions among the residences. The distribution of utilities in this sector can be widely improved. The security of the sector could be enhanced by application of more street lights within the equal distances between them. Surveillance cameras could be an option and installed on street for maximum security assurance. The internal roads can have a convergent division within the sector. Improved and accurate spaces should be allocated for car parkings. There's a lot of scope for further development within the sector and introduction of new methodologies such as improvement in footpaths, development of cycle-based car parking areas and confined areas for vegetation, and waste segregation into dry, wet and plastic waste than disposing into openly or into the nala.
This is Sector 7 urban analysis based on morphology, physical infrastructure, social infrastructure and demography. Sector 7 is located in southeast region of Bangalore, Karnataka. This is the lowermost area of HSR layout and has an area of 215.46 acres. It has an irregular shape as the sector was the last one to be developed. There are several sector level landmarks, but it lacks recognizable city level landmarks. This sector is connected to the Hosur main road and it also has a good connectivity to the rest of the Bengaluru. Speaking about the topography and vegetation of the area, the site experiences moderate climate with red laterite soil. It has a gradual slope from 878 meters from sea level to 902 meters. Along the streets, the site has abundance of vegetation which provides shade to the roads throughout the day. There are variety of trees in various parts of the sector. Looking at the site physicality, we observed the northwest corner of the sector is the lowest point, while the southeast corner is the highest point. It rises up to 24 meters from the lowest point in the sector. Due to uneven topography in the southeast region of the sector, there is sparse development of residences and more of small-scale warehouse industries. So now moving towards the morphology of the area, Bengaluru development during 1800s was mainly around the Bengaluru fort area. The development took place concentrically around the fort itself. During 1815, the growth of CBD began and the road network started developing and connected the CBD and HSR layout with the Hosur. Since 2000, drastic development of the formation of layouts and internal road networks created side plots by BDA, which led to major purchase of land and commercialization happened along the major roads. There is gradual decrease in vegetation and increase in built-up space as we compare from 2000 to 2020, and thus this led to major urban development in Sector 7. Talking about the physical infrastructure, it has 4 main roads: primary, secondary, tertiary and neighborhood. Secondary road of Sector 7 connects the sector to the Hosur main road and the tertiary road connects the residential zones to the secondary road. The intersection of secondary and tertiary roads create the major junctions in the sector. The secondary road is a 4-lane road experiencing high commercialization with one-side parking and movement of buses, facilitating good connectivity between the sector. As we move into the inner residential zones, the road width reduced with a minimal footpath and high vegetation along the road. Now, when we speak about the traffic volume, secondary road experiences fast-moving traffic, while the neighborhood roads experience moderate traffic volume during evening hours. There are majorly 3 bus stops connecting the other sectors and the Hosur road. There are transit modes at the major junctions, making it easy for the northwest quadrants of the sector. The proposed metro station along the Hosur road is about 500 meters from the southwest corner of the sector. Now looking into the street characteristics, the tertiary road has mixed built use forms on either side of the road with varying heights. The frontage of the buildings allows easy public movement on the wide footpaths, while the neighborhood road comparatively is narrow with 2 to 4 floor height residential buildings and lush green vegetation on either side of the road. There is low pedestrian movement with side parking of private vehicles and low vehicular movement. Looking into the social infrastructure of the place, the sector is well developed in terms of several social infrastructure and makes a better well-being for the residents living there. According to the sector performance report, the pedestrian crossing availability at major junctions is unusable and footpath walkability is satisfactory along the secondary and the tertiary roads. It has educational institutions, healthcare centers, temples, shopping malls, bank and ATMs, and community halls. Now the demography of the place is like major of the land is residential zone and commercialization along the major roads is found. There are parks at the center of each residential zone in the northwest region of the sector. There are few small scale industries and public areas in this sector. By 2031, there is reduction in commercial zones and industrial zones, and there is proposed development of NGT zone in the southwest region of the sector. So when we talk about open versus built, majority of the land is occupied by built space and the green areas is majorly in the northeast quadrant. There are Somasundra Palya Lake below the southeast region, which the major water body connecting the sector. There is very less open areas in the northwest region due to high density of the residences. Street lighting is adequate along the major roads and less in the neighborhood roads. The figure ground analysis of the area says that northwest quadrant has fine-grained urban texture with major 4 zones with parallel urban pattern creating a central public space in each zone. The middle area of the sector has fine-grained texture with irregular network of roads and lack open areas. Southeast quadrant has a coarse-grained urban texture with fragmented urban pattern and minimal road network. Now speaking about the building heights in the area, we observe that majority of the buildings have height of 6 to 12 meters in the northwest quadrant. Towards the southeast of the sector, there are high-rise residential apartments which go up to 36 meters in height. The middle zone of the sector consists of low-rise buildings which are closely packed together. So the inferences what we got after observing the sector 7 are that it requires recognizable city level landmarks. More development should be there in southeast quadrant in terms of road network, social infrastructure, while the middle zone of the sector is in need of public transport and there is scope for development of pedestrian walkability as well in the sector.